Okay, yeah, this got dark real quick. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you'll be the first to know. Latest episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is here. It is called The World is Watching. You're like, why would you name that? Oh boy, do they give you a button at the end of this that's like, oh, that's how you earn this title. So this episode picks up right after the last, where Bucky is outside with Ao, second in command of the Dora Milaje, and she's chin checking him. Like, hey yo, you know what Zemo did to us and to our people, and we allowed you to stay with us. We fixed you. We got that programming out of you. We made you a better person, and this is sort of how you repay us. And he lets her know that in her native tongue that it's a means to an end. She's like, okay, cool. On this means to an end, you got 8 hours. If you don't get what you need out of this situation in 8 hours, we're coming to get Zemo, whether you're in the way or not. And that's sort of how this episode begins. And Bucky lets them know. He goes back in and lets Sam and Zemo know that, hey, we got a limited amount of time to do whatever it is we're going to do because they're coming. Which is sort of what this episode's all about. This episode is basically saying that all parties are sort of diverging in on this one thing. The Flag Smashers, Bucky and Sam and Zemo, Faux Cap and his partner, and the Dora Milaje are now kind of all sort of coming together to a head. What I think this show does, the series as a whole does really well, is the drama, the political drama, the ideologies, and how everybody has a slightly different version of the ideology. I think when the show gets in its own ways, when it starts trying to be funny or do a buddy comedy or buddy cop show, sometimes that doesn't work out as well. And it's not because the characters aren't or the actors aren't good enough for it. It's just that when this show is at its best, it's diving head forth in some of the political and ideological stuff. There are two big pieces in this episode. One is Zemos' whole speech to Sam and Bucky in their like hideout, when he's basically questioning the shield and what the shield represents and how essentially folks are supremacists. The Avengers, if you really think about it, and what they stand for, are a version of supremacists, as were so and so people. So you put that bill, you give anybody who has some type of ideology a bit of power, give them the serum. They are not going to be able to control. They're going to do something that is evil. They're going to do something that's wrong. They may let this power go to them. Bucky hits back immediately, like, hey, not Cap, not Steve Rogers. Zemo's like, touche, you got one. You got one pure person out of the entire world. You let this serum, this power, this super soldier stuff get to somebody, and it's going to go wrong. It's not going to work in their hands. And I love that Zemo asks Sam, like, hey, if you had the chance, would you take the serum? And without even hesitation, Sam's like, nah. And and Zemo sort of respected, like, I like that you didn't hesitate. That question comes back later. Walker asked his partner if he would. He's, oh yeah, in a heartbeat, I'll take it in a minute, man. And it just shows you how two sides of the same coin, or two sides of the coin, are got completely different responses to that. It's fun to see. There also is a pretty good 1-to-1 sequence with Morganthal and Sam. How they're just Sam meets her, or is brought to her at her funeral home for a funeral for her adoptive mother, and they sort of just have a talk about ideology, and she's like, I don't really dislike you or disagree with you, and Sam's like, yeah, we're sort of on the same page. He starts sort of getting to his group talk or group therapy bag, and starts sort of getting in there and communicating with her, and getting a sort of a level playing field. And they're talking, and he's like, yeah, I don't have any backup, it's just you and I, so let's just talk it out. And he's like, you're not much better than some of the supremacists. And she's like, hold up, I'm not a supremacist. And he sort of plays this Jedi mind trick on her to get her to say things or put things in a form where when she hears it out loud, she realizes, like, oh crap, maybe I'm not as good. And she's like, you tricked me, you got me to say this. And he's like, well, you sort of just You got there on your own when you actually sort of dissected it and thought about it. Sadly, that doesn't last that long because before all this happens, before he actually meets up with her, John Walker, Sam, and them meet outside, and they know that Morganthal is there, and they're ready to go in and attack. And Bucky and Sam are like, give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. Let me go holler at him. Let me talk to him and see what we can get out of them before you come in barging. The time, I don't know if the time, it doesn't seem like the time actually takes place. It seems like he jumps the gun a little bit, but he barges in without really giving Sam a chance, and Morganthal sort of loses trust in Sam. Like, hey, oh, you brought your posse, you got my thing. She doesn't know. Last she knew that Sam was hanging out with Cap. A Cap, not necessarily this one, not necessarily the Walker one, where she's like, I know you hang out. This is your boy, and she's like, no, I'm not with them. She doesn't want to hear that, and just a pretty fun action sequence ensues, and it's just from one spot to another to a spot. So basically, what we end up getting to, though, the crux of this action sequence, two things happen. One, in the first part of this action sequence, the serum that Morganthal was still holding on to, all of it gets destroyed, but one vial, which Walker takes and puts in his pocket. He does that before he asks Battlestar whether or not he would take the serum, which he does. He says he would. Then another part of the battle continues because they meet back up at the hideout with Zemo and Bucky and Sam and Walker and them storm in. They're like, all right, look, we're done playing these games. You let her get away. We need to talk. We're gonna take Zemo now. The Dora Milaje show up. I'm like, all right, time's up. We're gonna take this dude or we're gonna wreck house. And John Walker gets into his Captain America bag, trying to pull rank. It's like, hey, you guys don't have jurisdiction. I'd say one of the best responses ever was like, yeah, we got jurisdiction, or whatever the hell we damn well please we have jurisdiction. And who's really gonna tell the Dora Milaje they wrong? Certainly not Cap, because he gets his ass handed to him, and it is glorious. While that's happening, while the fight's happening, while Sam and them are doing things, Zemo sort of escapes. We also see that the Dora Milaje, while they have helped Bucky in his arm, they also have sort of the cheat code to disengage that Wakanda arm from him. So he basically leave him with just one arm, completely leaving him helpless. Which is wild. He takes that better. His pride is not hurt nearly as much as John Walker's is, because he feels a certain way about the Dora Milaje beating the crap out of him. It's like they're not even super soldiers, and they destroyed him. And I think it might be multiple levels. It's probably sort of a bit of a white fragility, or white male fragility. Like, I got beat by a woman, I got beat by a woman of color, and I got beat by people who aren't powered. I need to change this, and he does have that serum stashed away. We learn that by the second battle that happens, big massive action sequence in this, he has taken it and he starts wrecking shop. And it's a quick line. We are inferred that he takes it. We don't actually see him take it, but we can see that the moves that he's doing, the power that he's doing, it is now having a completely different effect on people. He's now kicking people through walls. He's punching stuff through. It's getting kind of heavy. Sam's sort of just like, what did you do? But they don't really have time to get all into it. And the final piece of this action sequence is Morganthal comes in and she's wrecking shop. And obviously she's already powered. Battlestar, however, has not taken any of this elixir. And so what happens is, while they're battling, Morganthal accidentally kills Hoskins, Battlestar. I mean, she punches him. He goes flying back into a wall, and it sounds like his neck snaps or his spine cracks, but he's dead. And immediately I know that, like, yo, Walker's not going to take this well, especially somebody who was already seemingly being somewhat on the edge. Doesn't feel like he's respected. Doesn't seem like him wearing the suit. The guy spit on him. He lost it. Doesn't seem like the honor that he thinks this suit should bring is working. His mental stuff's not always there. He's fragile. And now he's powered. The stuff that Zemo very much talked about at the beginning of this is when you put this power in the hands of people who are not all the way equipped for it, it can go wrong. And seeing his friend murdered, he loses it. And he goes full berserk mode, and he crashes through the window. I like Cap with some stuff that Cap has done before, but unlike being the person of virtue or person of honor, jumps down on that bus. He catches not Morganthal because he can't find her, but he can find her right-hand man, her second in command, and in the middle of basically the town square with phones on them, everybody's got a cell phone. You know how this world works now. Everybody's got a cell. He takes that shield, and he's just ramming it, throwing him at him, knocks him down, and he basically takes it and just starts essentially decapitating him if he could. But he's just ramming that shield into his head over and over and over again until we get a final shot of just cameras and awe and shock of seeing the person that they have just put this uniform on. The government has just tagged and put this uniform on, has made everything humanly possible. Like, this is our next Captain America, standing there in full-on Captain America garb with a shield with blood just soaked at the bottom of the shield. And Falcon and Logan are just sitting there like, what the hell just happened? Mental break, just the choosing of serum with it. All of that just led to this point where this version of Cap is clearly not the one that the world wanted or needed, and we just all saw it. The world was watching, and that is why this episode is titled that way. It's a chilling sequence to end on. It's a chilling scene to have. You would imagine that in the next episode, the government is going to have to take their shield off it. Then I'm like, I don't know who gets the shield. I don't know if we're just disavowing the Captain America brand, but it is now tarnished. We can't have anybody out there wearing a suit like that. We can't have anybody out there with a shield, because now this looks like we're just out here. We don't do the POWs. We don't do the correct way of approaching situations like this. He just straight up murdered someone in cold blood without having any type of due process. And that's not going to fly. I don't think, anyway. We still got Zemo is now gone. Free, running around on the run. So you're going to have the Dora Milaje chasing him while Bucky and Sam are also chasing him. And I would imagine that Walker probably now without the Captain America suit, in U.S. agent mode, going after it too. I think he's going to be sort of a wild card and sort of doing his own thing. So you're going to have this even more stuff diverging into one fixed point. And then there's the Sharon Carter of it all, who you don't really get to see in this episode, except for a brief moment where she has a phone call and saying, I got some satellites. I can hook up stuff and figure out where you need to go next. I think all signs, what everybody seems to be feeling is that all signs point to her being the power broker. I think that could be possible. I think that is very much true, but I just feel like it seems too obvious to sort of be the case. But I wouldn't be shocked if it is. But all in all, another solid episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It gets you to question a lot of things, which side, even though the side that we all as an audience sort of believe is to be the bad guy, there are some lot of good points that Zemo brings up that you're like, you might not be wrong, and it all sort of comes together at a head when you see Walker losing his shit in the middle of Times Square. Their Times Square. What did you guys think of the latest episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI or hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. We're currently doing a run called Buddies for Life, where we're talking about buddy films throughout the years through the eyes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We have a sister podcast called You Can't Do That Anymore, where we talk about classic films like West Side Story or American Beauty or Tropic Thunder, and look at those films at the time that they came out through the eyes of 2021 and see if some of the things that they got away with doing there they can still do today. And that is also found wherever podcasts are played. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.